The Whispering Woods. Deep in the heart of the forest, where sunlight rarely touches the ground and the air feels thick with secrets, lies a place known as the Whispering Woods. It's a spot avoided by locals and seldom mentioned in conversations. The few who dare speak of it only do so in hushed tones, eyes darting around as if the forest itself could hear them. The legend goes that many years ago, a group of children went missing while playing near the woods. Despite exhaustive searches, no trace of them was ever found. The parents, driven mad with grief, claimed to hear their children's voices calling to them from within the dense trees. Over time, these claims grew, with more and more people reporting the same eerie phenomenon. Their own voices, perfectly mimicked, calling them deeper into the forest. Curiosity and a sense of adventure led Tom and Lisa, two college students, to the edge of these notorious woods. Armed with flashlights and a spirit of daring, they decided to uncover the truth. As they ventured further in, the forest grew unnaturally quiet, the usual sounds of wildlife absent. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the crunch of leaves underfoot. An hour into their exploration, Tom heard it first, a faint, familiar voice calling his name. "Tom! Tom!" It was unmistakably his own voice, distorted as if spoken through water. He turned to Lisa, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Did you hear that?" Before she could respond, Lisa heard it too, her own voice whispering urgently, "Lisa, come here." She felt a chill run down her spine, but tried to rationalize it. "It's probably just the wind or an echo," she said, though her voice trembled. They pressed on, but the voices grew louder and more insistent, leading them off the trail. The deeper they went, the darker it became, until their flashlights barely pierced the thick gloom. The air seemed to close in around them, thick and heavy, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a small clearing. In the center stood a massive, gnarled tree, its branches twisted like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. At its base were crude, child-sized carvings of human figures, worn and weathered by time. The voices were louder here, almost deafening. Tom and Lisa looked at each other, terror plain on their faces. Without warning, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The carvings seemed to come alive, their wooden eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The whispers turned into screams, and the air was filled with a cacophony of voices, all calling their names in unison. Paralyzed by fear, they watched as the figures slowly detached themselves from the tree and began to move towards them. Tom and Lisa backed away, but their feet felt like lead. The figures reached out with wooden arms, their touch icy and draining. Just as they felt themselves being pulled towards the tree, they heard a different sound, a loud, piercing scream from behind them. They turned to see an old woman standing at the edge of the clearing, chanting in a language neither of them recognized. The figures hesitated, then slowly retreated back to the tree. The woman approached them, her face stern and eyes filled with a mixture of anger and relief. "You should not be here," she said. "This place is cursed. The souls of those lost children are trapped here, seeking to replace themselves with new ones." She led them back to the edge of the forest, her presence a protective barrier against the malevolent spirits. As they emerged from the trees, the sunlight felt like a blessing. Tom and Lisa turned to thank the woman, but she was gone, as if she had never been there. They never spoke of their experience again, but the memory haunted them. And they knew one thing for certain: the Whispering Woods was not a place to be trifled with. The voices would always be there, waiting for the next curious soul to wander too deep.